Now, let us look at some of the topics, the simple topics in physics, which are commonly asked in BITSAT. So, I know that you know that questions based on mechanics, the free body diagram, the electromagnetism, capacitance, those questions definitely will be asked. I know that. Okay, but here we'll look at some of the topics which you should not forget when you are preparing for BITSAT. So, just quickly revise them and make sure that you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's, just to make sure that these topics are not left out, because they are very scoring. And those who have, of course, practiced the questions on DoorstepTutor would already be familiar with these topics, because we give them special emphasis. So, first topic is the polarization. Now, the polarization of light, what would be the change in intensity? How does it change? Those questions are commonly asked. The same thing goes for diffraction. I have not mentioned it here, but again, definitely look at those questions, because sometimes questions can be asked from there. The thing to remember is that the lens formula and those things, I know that you would have covered. All I'm trying to say is that don't forget these topics. So these are also important. Okay. The next thing is the half-life and radioactive. It is such a simple topic. If you have studied this, it will be, even the NCERT, it will be very hard for you to not solve the problem given on these topics. That is why this half-life, the decay law. Okay. Sometimes what will happen is that instead of this particular decay law, the activity, the decay constant, all of those things, sometimes what they'll do is that they'll change this decay law. So instead of this one, then you'll be given a different one, and then you'll be asked that, okay, what would be the half-life in this case? Okay, so those kind of questions are very direct, and again, they take less time to solve. We'll come back to it again and again, but the BITSAT is actually a very visual exam. So they will typically give you graphs and things like that, or ask you to visualize a function, to try to draw the function in rough and solve some problems. So in the same way, we here have the speed time graph. So rather than giving you an equation, they will give you the speed time graphs and ask you questions related to this. So if this is the speed, then what would be the acceleration? This is the kind of questions that you might expect in BITSAT. Again, simple harmonic motion. So you know the equation for simple harmonic motion. It's very hard, right? I mean, if you know simple harmonic motion, it's very difficult to not be able to solve a problem on that, because there are so few things that can be done with it. See, this is the equation. If you differentiate it, right, you can get the differentiation, and then you can find what would happen to the velocity at various points, the acceleration. Okay, you know what the forces, how they are involved, how does the energy change. There are only few things with simple harmonic motion that we can actually do. The only few ways someone can create problem for you. Okay, so this is the basic equation. Typically, questions which might be asked is that you might be given an equation and you might be asked whether it's a simple harmonic motion or not, or you might be asked to find a value of, let's say, A based on an equation, or omega based on an equation, and you might have to answer that. See, another thing to remember here is that these cosines and sines, they can be expressed in exponential notation. So those things also become important. They might give you equation in a different form, but it might turn out to be equation of the simple harmonic motion. Again, remember this for your JEE advanced also. Then this is another topic. This is from the molecular and atomic physics. Okay, so what we are asked is that this is a very simple equation of the wavelength of the photon emitted when the electron, it jumps from the initial state to the final state. So there are two principal quantum numbers, Ni and Nf, and when the electron jumps from one orbit to the other, this is the wavelength of the equation. This is the Rydberg equation. But again, the questions on this, if they are asked, they will be so simple, right? Because this is only one equation, and if you know it, it is just a question of whether you know it or not. If you have just covered it, even in the last days, it will be very hard to not be able to solve such problems. So definitely be on lookout for such simple problems on such simple topics in your BITSAT exam, and try to get to these questions early. Okay, because other questions like mechanics, free body diagram, the force, those questions might be asked, and I'm sure they will be asked, but those questions might take more time, and these are the free questions in these topics. So definitely look at these questions as well, and revise these topics as well. Okay, thank you very much.